In the previous movie, you ran a simulation that calculated the time a customer would spend at each station of a sandwich shop. The code we created only allowed for a single run, which doesn't provide much helpful information. In this movie, I will show you how to add a loop to your simulation code that lets you run multiple simulations so you get more data to analyze. My sample file is chapter 0208. That's an Excel workbook you can find in the chapter 2 folder of your exercise files collection. We need to make some changes to our workbook, adding information to the sim setup worksheet and also code within the VBA module. So I'll start in the worksheet. We need to define the number of runs. In other words, the number of times that the simulation will be repeated. So I'll click in cell D2 and type number of runs, and I'll use the hashtag or number symbol for number. Then I'll click cell A2, click the Format Painter, and click the formatting over to cell D2. And then in cell E2, which will contain the number of runs, and that is 2. So we'll just keep it very simple and straightforward the first time we're running multiple simulations. With that in place, I can press Alt F11 to move over to the Visual Basic Editor. And in the Module 1 Code module, there are a couple of things that I need to add. The first is to assign the number of runs from cell E2 to a variable. So I will scroll down, and I'm scrolling down to above step through the stations using a for next loop. So there I have step through the stations using a for next loop, and I'm going to add this code above that. The comment for documentation will be a single quote followed by define the number of runs, then enter. First thing we need to do is activate the sim setup worksheet. So I'll type worksheets, and then in parentheses and double quotes, the name of the worksheet, which is sim setup, period activate, and enter. And then we'll assign the value from cell E2 to the L number runs variable that we declared earlier. So L, NMBR, runs equals the value from cell E2. So we'll use the range object, and then in parentheses and double quotes, the cell address of E2, period, and value. I'll press enter twice. Now we need to start the outer loop, and each of these outer loops will represent a particular run of the simulation. So I'll document that with a comment. So single quote, start the outer loop for customers up to L number runs, then enter. And we'll use a for next loop for this. So I'll just type for L run counter. That's a variable we defined earlier, equals 1 to L NMBR runs. So the number of runs that we read in from cell E2. Now we need to close the loop. So I will scroll down and just above set object variables to nothing to free up memory. I'll add a couple of lines and then a quote, close the L run counter loop. Press return and just type next because I don't need the variable name. Right, everything looks good. We're going to have 2 runs through. I'll press Control G to display the immediate window because we're using debug.print for the moment to print out the results. I'll click back in Code Module 1 and in the body of the subroutine. And after I press F5, if I did everything correctly, I should see 2 sets of results in the immediate window. So I'll press F5, and that's exactly what we get.